Firstly, let me just establish on the 30th of May 2020, you reported on duty.
Umhla 30 May 2020 wangena emsebenzini.
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
What was your shift on that day?
Shift yakho eqala sathini iphela sathini ngalelo langa.
La ngangisebenza khona engekho lento ama shift.
Where I was working at the time, we did not have a system of shifts.
Do you mean, are you referring to the unit where you were working, the SWAT unit?
Ukhuluma nge-SWAT unit lo asenza again.
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
So Mr. Jonathan also falls under the same SWAT unit.
Shouldn't mean about Jonathan naye wayesenzela yona leyo unit.
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
So it means, just to clarify that point, clarification on that aspect is that under that unit, there's not specific time for the changing of the shift.
Because what people unit there are six cars so kushintsha summer shift.
Yes. Kunjalo.
That is correct.
So you can work from 8 o'clock until 12 o'clock midnight.
So ngaqala ngenza ukuqala ukusebenza ngo-8 o'clock uyoshayisa ngo-12 ebusuku.
Makube kunesizathu.
If there is a reason.
All right. Now on the 30th of May 2020, you said you received a call from Sergeant Mukhal.
Uthe umhla 30 kuMay 2020 uthe wathola ucingo oluvela kuSergeant Mukhal.
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
Where were you at that time?
Wawulaphi ngaleso sikhathi?
Bengihamba towards iBoksburg area.
I was traveling towards the Boksburg area.
So upon receiving that call, you then immediately attended to the request by Sergeant Mukhola.
Manje ekutholeni lolo cingo navele nje naqala ukuyokwenza lokho enanicelwa uSergeant Mukholo.
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
What car were you traveling with?
Wahamba nhlobo nemoto?
BMW 1 Series.
I was traveling in a BMW 1 Series.
What color was it?
Umbala wayo?
Mhlophe.
It was white.
Is it correct that you were with Sadiq, Sergeant Sadiq?
Iqiniso ukuthi wahamba noSergeant Sadiq?
Constable Sadiq. Yebo.
Constable Sadiq.
Yes, it was Constable Sadiq.
Was Mr. Maphumulo present also?
Maphumulo yakhona lapho?
Cha.
No, he wasn't.
Okay. So that the content of the conversation was that a warrant or a J50 was issued. It was to be executed. Is that correct?
Nanifanele niyokhipha iJ50 lapho nginjalo.
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
All right. When you arrived in Tembisa, you said you arrived in Tembisa, you had a discussion with Sergeant Mukhola, who showed you this warrant of arrest.
Uthe manifika eThembisa nakhuluma noSergeant Mukhola wanikhombisa iwarrant of arrest.
Kunjalo.
That's correct.
It reflected the names of the suspect.
Yayibhalwe amagama abasolwa anginjalo.
Kunjalo.
That's correct.
So, as we're trying to locate the whereabouts of the suspect, finally you found or you located the place where he was. And you further mentioned that he was located in terms of, according to a description of his clothing. Is that so?
Manje njengoba benisafuna ke Umsolwa nagcina nitholile ukuthi ulaphi futhi ke naninikiwe ke nencazelo ukuthi ugqoke kanjani.
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
And the place where he was at that time.
Naleyo ndawo ke la ekuyona ngaleso sikhathi.
Kuyiqiniso.
That is true.
You just made a correction in terms of the shoes he was wearing prior to his approach. You said he was wearing the flip-flops. Is that correct?
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
All right. So when you approach, okay, let me just clarify this as well. These people that you spotted on the standing in the yard of that particular house, how many were they? Were they not 3?
Manje la bantu nawathola bese egcikeni lapho la enaniyo landa umsolwa khona babe ngabangaki labantu babe ngebathathu
bebababili.
there were 2.
All right. My instruction is that there were 3. Accused number 1 and other 2 gentlemen.
Umsolwa ke uqala uthi yena babe bathathu kwakuyena nabanye ababili.
Mhlawumbe usekhohliwe bebabili.
Maybe he's forgotten, but there were just 2 of them.
All right. Let's just take it step by step. It's fine. Okay. Now you instruct. There's something that you mentioned, which is very fascinating. The tactic that you are using when you're approaching a suspect. You said, is it?
Tactical takedown.
Tactical?
Takedown.
Tactical takedown. So, this tactical takedown, you said the purpose of it is to confuse the suspect. Is that so?
Manje kule tactical takedown okhuluma ngayo kusho ukuthi into eyenza ukuthi umsolwa ahlangahlangane.
Unjalo.
That is correct.
Okay. In terms of its practicality, how long does this confusion, if maybe you certain that he is now confused, how long does it function on the suspect?
Asikusedidekile ke umsolwa udideka isikhathi esingakanani.
Kuya ngomuntu, ngohlobo lomuntu.
It depends on a person.
Okay, I'll get back to that one. So, but does it have the element of instilling fear as well on the suspect?
Manje kukhona yini nokumesabisa okungenayo lapho?
Ingakho ngithi kuya ngomuntu. Kwabanye ayikho umunye umuntu abe normal akuhlahlela amehlo.
Well, I said it goes according to a person. Some they do not fear, they just stare at you.
But for someone who is surprised by this tactic, it's common that he can be frightened.
Manje kujwayelekile yini ukuthi umuntu mebona lento le bese yamthusa kujwayelekile yini ukuthi afike lokwesapha.
Abona ngeke ngize ngithi ngiexpert ngalezo nto ukuthi umuntu uyafika lokwesabo uyafika lokwesabo. Engakusho ukuthi kuhluka ngabantu.
I wouldn't say that I'm an expert on whether the person would feel fear or not, but then it is according to each person.
And as such, say, you are not expected to see if this person is confused when you are implementing that tactic.
No,
I'm not saying you are an expert.
Ushuthi awuyena nje nochwepheshe okwazi ukuthi lo muntu lo usedidekile.
Inhloso tactical takedown ukuthi umuntu mama approach umtshela lento omtshela yona ayenza ngaleso sikhathi hayi umthusa.
The reason we use this tactical takedown is to ensure that a person does whatever you tell them and not to instill fear on them.
Okay, no, it's fine. We'll reserve that one for argument as well. But let's move on. In terms of, all right, now, you ordered these people to come out of the yard, or did they, on their own volition, came out of the yard?
Manje labantu laba wabalela ukuthi baphume ejardini noma baziphumela bona ngokwabo.
Akekho aphume ejardini balala khona lapha ejardini.
No, nobody went out of the yard. They laid down right inside the yard.
All right. So, as they were on the ground, that's when you handcuffed accused number 1 after having satisfied yourself that his name is Mozi Temba Sibiya.
Kusho ukuthi lapho esalele ila wafaka khona umsolwa uzankosi emva ukuthi uzenelise ukuthi uyena uMozi Temba Sibiya.
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
So his body was facing downwards.
Umzimba wakhe kusho ukuthi wawubheke phansi.
Umzimba yebo.
That is correct.
So he was handcuffed from behind.
Kusho ukuthi ke waboshwa sankosi ngemuva.
Yebo.
That is correct.
All right. So When he was lifted up, how was he lifted up?
Waphakamiswa kanjani kumese phakanyiswa?
uye umncedise umuntu kumphakamisa mase boshiwe.
Once a person has been handcuffed, you are required to actually help them.
In that case, how did you help him?
Manje ngaleli langa wena msiza kanjani?
Umbamba la kuhlala khona ibhande ebhulukweni umphakamisa.
You pick him by his waist.
My instruction is that you lifted him with those handcuffs.
Mina ke ngikuzule ukuthi wena wamdonsa ngabo uzankosi wamphakamisa ngabo.
Ubezolimala uma bekunjalo. Sokuhamanga.
That is a lie, because if had we tried to do that, he was going to be injured.
All right, it's fine. Now you took him to one of the cars that you were traveling with.
Manje ngabe siniyamthatha nimfaka kulezi imoto enihamba ngazo.
Cha sahamba ngenyawo.
No, we walked on foot.
You said it's less than a kilometer from where he was arrested.
Kusho ukuthi the ngaphansi nje kwekilometer la wela ehlala khona.
Yebo.
That is correct.
Was there any red Golf that was in the vicinity of the area where you arrested him?
Manje ke la etuzoba la enambophela khona ikhona yini Golf ebovu.
Yebo.
That is correct.
Who was traveling with it?
Ubona hamba ngale moto.
Sergeant Mkhola.
That was Sergeant Mkhola.
All right. So, have you made any inquiries from the accused, from accused number 1, as to, you said you asked him where he stays, he showed you where he stayed.
Uthe umsolo kuqala wambuza ukuthi uhlala phana ikhombisa ukuthi uhlala.
Yebo wasiholela khona.
That is correct, he guided us there.
Did you ask him as to who does he stay with?
Wambuza yini ukuthi uhlala nobani?
Yebo.
Yes, I did.
What was the answer?
Impembulo kwawe yini?
Wathi umalume.
He said it was his uncle.
Okay. So immediately after he said that, he was not in possession of his identity document.
Manje ke emva kokusho lokho wayengayiphethe imfazisi wakhe.
Yebo.
That is correct.
All right. You said you proceeded walking to the place where he resides. He resided at that
Uthi
time.
navela naqhubeka naye la ehlala khona.
Yebo.
That's
Well,
correct.
Was it the only time you went to the place? Was it-
Bro, ingaso isona leso sikhathi kuphele naye ngaso la ehlala khona.
Ngokwazi kwami yebo.
According to my knowledge, yes.
All right. Has accused number 1 ever been taken to Litabong, next to a municipality area?
Umsolo kuqala wabathathwa yini wayise eLithabong eduze kwamasipala?
Cha.
No.
All right. That's my instruction, that after you went to the place where he resides and you did not find his uncle, then you took him with the motor vehicles to Litabong in Tembisa. That's a place around a municipality area.
Uthi uthi nathi ke manamthola umalume wakhe lapho ke nasenithatha nimisa kule ndawo kuthiwa iseLithabong engakwamasipala.
Sasingafuni malume wakhe kokuqala.
We were not looking for his uncle for starters.
I'm quite aware of that.
So kwangamanga ke ndaba seThabong.
So any issue about the Lithabong is not true.
We'll get into those conclusions.
Sizofika lapho.
My instruction is that you took him to Litabong. After Litabong, that's when you assaulted him.
Bathi ke umyalelo wami ukuthi nina namthatha naye miyisa eLithabong emva kweLithabong naseniqala niyamshaya.
Amanga lawo.
That is not true.
Thank you. And I forgot to inform you that my instruction is that it was not only you, Sadike, and Sergeant Mkhola
Yalelo wami uthi akwangewena uSadiki nomkhola
when he
kuphela.
was arrested.
Mezoboshwa.
Ngisaqinisekisa nalokho ukuthi bekuyimina uSadiki uSergeant Mkhola ebekhona laphana njengomphenyi wecala.
Well, I want to reiterate that it was me, Sadiki, and Mkhola was only there as the investigating officer.
My instruction is that there were 5 people that he saw with civilian clothes
Uthi yena wabona abantu abahlanu bengagqokile uniform
prior to his arrest,
engaboshwa.
and more or less 8 officers that were in full uniform.
Athi futhi kunamaphoyisa angathi alingana u8 ayegqoke uniform.
hayi mhlambe bebona abanye.
Maybe you are seeing somebody else.
And you were traveling with 7 motor vehicles.
Futhi nihamba ngeemoto ezingaba isikhombisa.
hayi zimbili imoto bezilapha.
No, there were only 2 cars there.
Okay. After Litabong, after he was assaulted, accused number 1 messed up himself.
Bathi emva ukuthi ashawe Litabong Umsolwa oqala wazingcolisa.
angikwazi lokho.
I do not know about that.
Yes, because that was a reason for you to take him so that he can change his clothes.
Ngoba iyona ke into eyenza ukuthi niphoqelele ukuthi nimphindisele la ehlala khona ukuthi ayokhumula agqoke okunye.
uqamba amanga phambi kwale nkantolo akusona isizathu leso.
That is a lie before this court because that was not the reason.
So that means you were so sympathetic to the accused. What was the reason for you to take him to change his clothes? What was the reason?
Ushuthi nani nozwele kulomsolwa kwakuyini isizathu sokuthi nimthathe ukuthi ayoshintsha impahla.
njengoba bengichazile masimbopha suka nala simthole khona befake ibruko elibizwa ibrainwood.
Like I said, where we arrested him, he was wearing a trouser which is branded Brentwood.
ubekhononda ukuthi okokuqala simlalise phansi enhlabathini ngalo brownwood.
He was complaining, for starters, that we had caused him to lie down in that trouser on the grass.
So you want to tell the court that
okwesibili ngakaqedi ubenenkinga ukuthi ahambe ayoboshwa agqoke lona lelo bro lelo ibrainwood.
He also had a problem with his being arrested while wearing that Brentwood trouser.
So bengeze ngomnqabele mina uma engicela engalwi ukuthi ashintshwe lelo bro lelo afakwe elinye ibruko.
I wasn't going to refuse since he was asking politely to go and change the trousers and wear another one.
I'm putting to you that that's not a reason. The reason is that he messed up himself after he was assaulted. Then you took him again to the place where he resides so that he can change his clothing.
Yayilo engitshela wona ukuthi yena washawa waseyazingcolisa. Sona ke sizathu senza ukuthi nimthathe nimise lapha ekhaya ukuthi ayogqokela inye blue.
La hlala khona umuzi kakhulela siye kanye asange sibuyele. And futhi akusona isizathu lesi esishiwo uyena phambi kwale nkantolo kwamanga la.
We only went once to his place and we never returned there, and the reasons that is provided before the court are not true.
The keys of that shack was with his uncle.
Bathi ukheka wa lo mkhukhu lo wawuphethe umalume wakhe.
He was not in possession of the keys.
Uthi wayengophethe ukey.
Kuyamangaza kusho ukuthi malume wakho hlala esikhwameni ngoba ikey ayikhiphe esikhwameni na.
Well, it's surprising. Maybe his uncle stays in the pocket because that is where I retrieved the keys from.
I think we've got to be adults when we are answering questions. We are in a court of law. We are in a formal institute.
Mangixolisa lo.
Yes.
Apologies.
Thank you. And because the keys were not with the accused, that's when you forcefully gain entry into the shack.
Athi ngoba Umsolwa engawuphethe ukey nafike nangena ngogqeza lapha emkhukhwini wakhe.
Umalume wakhe azange afika ngimazi.
His uncle never arrived. I don't know his uncle.
Ikhiya ngayikhipha kuyena
I
esikhwameni.
retrieved the keys from his own pocket.
Akuzange uze kuphulwe kasingekho futhi nesizathu ukuthi kungaphulwa.
There was no break-in whatsoever, and there was no reason for breaking in.
All right, I'll get back to that as well. After you broke or you forcefully gained entry in the shack, You had no permission to do that.
Emva kokuthi ngiphule isicabha ningene lapha emkhukhweni nani ngayitholile imvume yokuthi ningene ngaphakathi.
Emkhukhu awuzange uphulwe sasingekho isizathu sokuphulwa komkhukhu.
There was no reason to break the door of the shack.
All right.
And it was not broken.
Thank you. Now we are inside the shack.
Manje seningaphakathi
As you have
emkhukhweni.
demonstrated.
Njengoba usuchazile.
You found a black plastic.
Athi ngithole plastic khona lapho ngaphakathi.
Was it the reason for his arrest?
Manje lo plastic kwayisona ke isizathu sokuthi aboshwe.
Umangalelo beseboshiwe. Mina ke sengumbopho kwesibili.
The accused, the suspect had already been arrested. I was arresting him for the second time.
I'm getting there, sir. Please be patient. Please be patient. You gain entry. You are now inside the shack. You spotted the plastic hanging.
Nangena manje laba ngaphakathi emkhukhweni usubona uplastic olengayo la.
You did not tell the accused that you want to search the shack.
Anzani nimtshela Umsolwa ukuthi nifuna ukusesha lapha emkhukhweni wakhe.
Okokuqala imvume ukungena emkhukhweni sindike uyena. Okwesibili uyena ochasele mina ocele mina ukuthi umazisi wakhe ngumbheke kuphi.
Well, for starters, he's the one that gave us the permission to get into the shack, and he's also the one who directed us to where I should look for his ID.
Okwesibili masuthola umazisi uyena futhi ngokwakhe othi ibhekeni umbhekeni la umazisi wami.
When we could not find the ID, it was he that also went ahead and said, you can look for the ID here and there.
Actually, who was looking for the ID? Was it you or him?
Ubeboshiwe nobofunwa yimina umazisi wakhe.
He was arrested, so I was the one that needed his ID.
You were looking for the ID. You found this thing, this plastic.
Nanifune umazisa nathola lo plastic.
Yep.
That's correct.
You opened the plastic.
Nayivula ke lo plastic.
Yep.
There was
correct.
another plastic inside.
Come again?
There was another plastic inside the plastic bag.
Kwakukhona omunye plastic ngaphakathi kwalo plastic.
Kunjalo.
That's correct.
All right. When you opened the plastic, was it his permission to do so?
Manje manivula lo plastic wayenikile imvume ukuvula.
Yebo, uyimvume ngizothi wayesinikile ngesizathu sokuthi bayithi ibhekeni ila. Ngisho ukuthi ngivumelekile ukuthi ngabheka noma ngabe kukuphi. So imvume ngangithola.
He had given us the permission because when he said look for my ID, it could be anywhere here. It implied that I could search anywhere, so I had the permission.
All right. So now you found this thing illegal. This life unused life rounds.
Lithole izinhlamvu zebhamu ezingasebenzi. Sithole ngendlela engekho emthethweni.
Is that so?
Angjalo.
Engekho emthethweni kanjani?
How was it illegal?
You said you asked for the license if you possess such a license. According to your answer, you said no. You said no.
Uthi wena nambuzo ukuthi unayo yini license wasephendula ethi akanayo.
Yebo, inhlamvu zazi kuye ngokungekho emthethweni.
Yes, the bullets were in his possession without any permission.
All right. You continued to search after what were you looking for? Still the ID.
Naqhubeka ke nasesha lapho nanisafuna yona yini ID.
Yes, isizathu sokuba lapha nabo kufuna umazisi.
That is correct. Our reason for being there was to look for an ID.
So even if usually that thing is done by elderly people, can you look for an ID inside the fridge?
Ungakwazi yena ukuthi unofuna umazisa ngaphakathi kwefridge.
Angizange ngithi phakathi kwefridge ngangifuna iID.
I didn't say when I was looking for an ID inside the fridge.
You opened the fridge. The television set was not functioning. The fridge was not even functioning, but you opened the fridge and you found the unwashed dishes.
Ayuthe wena television engasebenzi ne-fridge engasebenzi kodwa ayivula leyo fridge
Can you
uthola
keep-
izitsha ezingawashiwe.
qiniso.
That is correct.
Can you keep an ID inside the fridge?
Ngakwazi yini ukubeka i-ID ngaphakathi efridgini?
Ngayigcina uma ifridge ingasebenzi.
I can keep a fridge even if it doesn't work.
But he cannot do that. And there was a wardrobe where he was keeping his clothes.
Kodwa akwenzanga lokho kwayene-wardrobe la efaka khona iy'mpahla zakhe.
Nkosi enkantolo angizange ngibeke isizathu sokuthi ngangifuna i-ID part kwe-fridge.
My Lord, I did not say my reason for looking for opening the fridge was to look for an ID.
But my concern, you opened the fridge without his permission.
Manje inkinga enginayo ukuthi uvule le fridge lena ungenayo imvume.
Nkosi enkantolo kwakuyoba kuhle uma imvumo mhlambeni yayicacisile ukuthi bukanda. Kodwa imvumo ithema iza kuthina kuthiwe bukani konke la.
Well, it would have been easier if the permission had been very specific to say, look here and here and here. But then the permission that we got was was a blanket permission that said we could look everywhere.
All right, let's move on.
Go back.
Sergeant Sadiq was present when you found the plastic.
Sergeant Sadiq wayekhona isikhathi uthola lo plastic.
Qiniso.
That is correct.
Sergeant Mkhola was outside.
Sergeant Mkhola wayengaphandle.
Qiniso.
That's correct.
All right. You mentioned that you read the rights of the accused at the time you arrested him.
Nishilo-ke wathi wafundela Umsolwa amalungelo akhe ngesikhathi nimbobo.
Phambi komseshi. Qiniso.
In front of the investigating officer, that is true.
When you found this plastic bag containing unused live rounds, you asked a question, do you have the license for this?
Manithola-ke lo plastic oney'nhlamvu zesibhamu ezingasetshenziswa wambuza ukuthi unayo yini i-license.
Qiniso.
That is correct.
When you found them, and it came to your mind that after you were given the answer that this is an illegal item on property, did you explain his rights further? Because this is another offense.
Manje uma usuthola lapho ukuthi unento engekho emthethweni lapho waphinda futhi wamtshela amalungelo akhe yini ngoba kwase kuyelinye icala lesibili leli.
Kunjalo bekufanelekile.
That is correct. It was supposed to be done.
Nalapho futhi umseshi ubela eceleni mangomtshela.
And the investigating officer was also present when I read him his rights again.
So did he make any admissions to the effect that he admitted that these things belong to him?
Manje wavuma yini lapho ukuthi konke lokho kwakhe?
Bengazange sambuza ukuyela phambili ngalokho.
I did not ask him further about that.
Bengikwazi ukuthi wavuma ukuthi irume lakhe lezazinto ezakhe.
What I know is that he accepted that the room belonged to him and what was in there what belonged to him.
So in the nutshell, he never admitted, he never made any admissions regarding those unused life rounds.
Ngokufufishane usho ukuthi akazange avume lutho mayelana nalezi inhlamvu ezingasetshenziswanga.
Hayi angizange sakhumbula ukuthi wavuma okanye azange avuma.
I'm unable to recall whether he accepted or no, did he not accept.
The persons that entered the shack of the accused, correct me if I'm wrong, yourself, are you a constable?
Correct.
Sadiq is a constable.
Kunjalo.
So kusho lana wangena lapha ukuthi wena uyiconstable noSadiq na uyiconstable.
And Mkhola is a sergeant.
Kunjalo.
And uMkhola uSergeant. That is correct.
Are you aware that all three of you, are you aware? If you are not aware, you must tell me. I'm not forcing you to answer that question. are you aware that by law you are not permitted to take any confessions and admissions?
Manje uyazi yini ukuthi ngokomthetho nina nobathathu anivunyelwe ukuthi kube nomuntu othatha ukuvuma isono?
Hayi bengakwazi lokho.
I was not aware of that.
Thank you. Let's proceed.
Nothing that's entirely correct. As far as a confession is concerned, that's correct, but not admission can be made
An
to any.
admission is admissible, even taken by a constable,
They are,
as opposed to a confession, which is described in our law as an unequivocal admission of all the elements of a particular crime.
I'll revisit section 2199, capital letter A1.
Thereby,
Yes. Let's move on, sir.
Asiqhubeke.
Now, in the check, you called in Sergeant Mukhola. Then you proceeded with the business of the day, effecting arrest to accused number 1.
Manje lapha emkhukwini ke nasenbizo Sergeant Mukhola nasenqhubekayo umsebenzi wosuku okubopha Umsolwa.
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
So he managed to change his clothes, and the mistake that you have made, change from whatever shoes, Cavella to flip-flops to Cavella. But ultimately, he managed to change the clothing he was wearing.
Manje uthi emva kwaloko kwase kwazike ukuthi ashintshe lo ayigqokile mhlambe ashintshe uCavella flip flop noma flip flop uCavella konke nje lokho ayidinga ukushintsha wakushintsha.
Yebo.
That is correct.
And for that information, you said it was, when the first time you met him, it was 1 o'clock or towards 1 o'clock during the day.
Uthe uqala wakho ukuhlangana naye kwaku phakathi nosuku.
Yebo kunjalo.
That is correct.
Yes. An offense, the second offense or the second alleged offense of being in possession of unlicensed live rounds was allegedly committed in Tembisa.
Manje leli elinye icala lokuthi abe atholakale enenhlamvu lenzwa eThembisa.
Yebo.
That's correct.
The J50, the warrant of arrest, was issued and effected within the jurisdiction of Tembisa.
Ushuthi J50 ke warrant of arrest yakhishwa ngaphansi ke bomgango seThembisa.
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
By law, he was supposed to be detained in one of the police stations in Tembisa.
Usho ngomthetho wekufanele ukuthi avalelwe kwenye yama-police station aseThembisa.
Ngiqonda kanjalo.
I understand like it's like that.
Was he taken to one of the police stations in Tembisa?
Manje wathathwa wayiswa kwenye yama-police station aseThembisa?
Cha saqhubeka.
No, we proceeded.
No, why not? Because sorry, may I?
Muthi ke cha yini indaba?
Umphenyi wecala mayithi sesehamba sevusumuzo hostel.
Well, the investigating officer informed us that we were going to go to the Vusmuzi hostel.
I'm still covered with it. It falls under Tembisa. Is that correct?
Laying ngaphansi kweThembisa.
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
Yes. These two offenses were allegedly committed in Tembisa. My question still maintains that he was supposed to be detained in one of the police stations in Tembisa.
Omabili lamacala enziwe eThembisa usho ukuthi wayefanele aboshelwe endaweni yaseThembisa.
Akumina bekumele athathe isinqumo sokuthi ayoboshelwa kuphi bekunomphenyi lapha yana umseshi uzazazo siphendulela.
It was not upon me to decide where he was going to be detained. There was an investigating officer there. That investigation officer must come and answer for themselves.
Thank you. I'm getting there. Now we are taking the suspect to Umsolwa. These offenses are committed here in Tembisa. Now we are taking the suspect, accused number 1, to Umsolwa. What was the reason for that?
Koyinika isizathu sokuthi Umsolwa owenza amaqala esembisa athathwa yiso eFosloras.
Kosenkantolo kunomphenyi kunomseshi ebengilalela yena.
I was under the instructions of the investigating officer.
All right. I followed the logic in your evidence. You're the one who effected arrest physically on accused number 1 on the instruction of the investigating officer.
Manje ke wena ke owabopha Umsolwa uqala umbopha ngezakhe izandla ukuthi ulayelwa umphenyi.
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
Was that part of escorting?
Kwaku ingxenye yokuphelezela le?
Cha, i-escort lapha ngeni lapha angisiza.
No. The escort was not part of it. Where I was there, I was assisting.
So you agree with me that you acted beyond the scope of your employment?
Manje ngizokhuluma iqiniso yini mangithi wena weqa imingcele yomsebenzi wakho.
Kuzobe kwamanga lawo.
That would not be true.
Thank you. With the leave of the court, I don't want to be in relation to the wording, the words that we use in court. If you say amanga, it's not polite than aglone qiniso. Do you agree?
Mutu amanga kuyehluka kunokuthi uthi akulona iqiniso ngoba umuthi amanga kunokuba luhlazana lapha akunjalo.
Ngithanda ukuxolisa kwenkosi enkantolo uma ngizwakala ngathi ngilihlaza. Cha, akulona iqiniso lelo. Hoqisa lelo.
No, I'd like to apologize to the court if I appear to be rude, and what I wanted to say is that it is not true.
Yes, I'll be pleased because we are all Zulu speakers to use the word kuliphuta or akulona iqiniso.
Angathawaza njengoba singamaZulu ukuthi akusetshenziswa amagama nje ukuthi kuyiphutha noma akulona iqiniso.
Ngiyawuthobela.
I accept it.
Thank you, sir. Now we are at Fosloras police station. No offense has been committed there. No offense has been allegedly committed in Fosloras police station.
Manje sisefosloras akukho icala elenziwa lapha.
Siye eFosloras ngesicelo somphenyi wecala.
We went to Fosloras on the request of the investigating officer.
In other words, she did not state expressly the reason why you had to escort her and the suspect to Fosloras.
Mushuthi ke akazange acacise kahle ukuthi yini isizathu sasenza ukuthi nifanele niye eFosloras.
Masithola inhlamvu emkhokhweni ke wafunakala isibhamu.
When we found the rounds in the shack, well, that implied the presence of a gun, so we wanted to find a gun.
Yes, I've omitted that part of your evidence deliberately because ultimately accused number 1 was not arrested for being in possession of an unlicensed firearm. Let's just forget about the firearm.
Well, ngizange ngingene kuloko kakhulu ngoba Umsolwa akazange aboshelwe ukuba nesibhamu.
We are there in Fosloras. What offense was committed in Fosloras?
Manje senila eFos.
Ngichazisele futhi.
Can you please ask again?
I'm saying, can we please concentrate on the offenses that accused number 1 was arrested for?
Ake sigcine kakhulu kule macala lawa aboshelwa wona Umsolwa oqala.
Not the firearm that we're looking for. I'm less concerned about that and I did not want to tackle that part of evidence.
Singakhulume ngesibhamu.
Mr. Umsolwa, that's unfair to the witness. He's giving you the reason why, as you say, they didn't immediately lock up the accused, where allegedly he was arrested for committing an offense. And he says, because they had found this ammunition, the firearm had to be traced. That's what he says.
Thank you, my lord. May I reply?
No,
My lord,
you
there's
must
a
ask
hand
him.
up.
That's how I
Yeah.
understand the evidence.
That's correct. I want to clarify that now. Yes.
My lord, there's a hand up.
From,
The client.
may I approach him?
Yes.
Thank you, Mother, for the indictments. Mr. Buthelezi, I have a reason not to dwell much on the firearm.
So walisa ngilesizathu sokuthi ngingagxili kakhulu kulolu daba lesibhamu.
The reason being that the evidence that you gave to the court, it involves other people that could not be called to come and testify about the contents of that conversation.
Isizathu ukuthi khona abanye abantu abafakwayo kulolu daba lana angeke bakwazi ukuthi balethe la enkantolo ukuthi bazofakaza.
All right, let us just move on for the sake of convenience. In Phosphorus, there was no instruction from the investigating officer to you particularly to go and search for a firearm.
Efosora sakange kube nomlalo owanikwa wona umseshi ukuthi niyofuna isibhamu.
Kungamangaza lokho ngoba asuka ethembisa siya eFosloras konke lokho ngokuthatha kumseshi ophenya icala.
That would be surprising because all that was done from moving from Tembisa to Fosdora, those were the instructions that I received from the investigating officer.
Yes. Upon your arrival at Phosphorus, you waited until Mr. Kininda, Brigadier Kininda arrived.
Mama fika kwene Fosdora nalinda wazafika uBrigadier Kininda.
Inkosi yenkantolo mele kwazi ukuthi angeke ngifike ngizenzele ngokuthanda kwami. Mele ngithole imiyalelo. So mina ngabiza ithimba ngoba ngazi ukuthi songena ehostel.
I'd like to put it before the court that I'm not going to work to do as I please, but I'm going to wait for instructions.
All right.
What I did was to invite some officers to come as a backup.
Yes. Then you proceeded to a particular hostel in Phosphorus.
My hostility is a Fosloras.
Yeah.
That's correct.
All right. What was the name of the hostel?
Boy, yini kamala the hostel?
Makube ngikhumbulisa kahle iBasuthu hostel.
If I remember correctly, it was called the Basutu hostel.
Was it before Brigadier Kininda arrived?
Wayengakafiki yini uBrigadier Kininda?
Yeah, baba.
That is correct.
Nothing was found in Phosphorus hostel, Basutu hostel.
Akukho kwatholakala hostel eseFosloras.
Kwakungene umphenyi ngime ngaphandle.
I was standing outside while the investigating officer went inside.
But she never came out with something illegal.
Kodwa azange aphume ephethe into engekho emthethweni.
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
Then you proceeded back to the place where you've been waiting for Brigadier Kininda.
So naya ke lana nafika nalinda khona uBrigadier Kininda.
Kuyinjwayelo ukuthi makube kukhona besikwenza siphinde sihlangane futhi again senze lento ekuthiwa i-debriefing lapho bekungaphandle kwe-police station eFosloras.
Well, it is our practice that after doing what we did, we then come together to have a debriefing.
Okay.
And that happened outside the Fosloras police station.
After debriefing, after speaking to Brigadier Kinenda, so where did you proceed to? Where did you go to?
E-Eraton.
We went to Eraton.
Okay. In Eraton, how many of you went to Eraton? Was it yourself, Constable Sadike, Sergeant Mohola, and who else?
Nani bangake kabaya Eraton kwakuyena Sergeant Constable Sadike no Sergeant Mohola no bani futhi.
Abanye ngeke ngize bakhumbulise kahle kodwa abantu engakhuluma ukuthi ngababona lolo suku uConstable Sadiki no Sergeant Mohola isizathu salokho ukuthi umuntu sasihamba naye wayeboshwe naye sasimbophe sisonke.
I'm unable to recall all the names of the people that were there, but I can only specifically say that I recall the names of Constable Sadiki and Sergeant Mkhola because the person that we had arrested, we had all participated in the arrest.
Constable Munareng, Constable Mapumulo, Constable Jonathan, we're not there.
Went to Constable Munareng, Mapumulo, no Jonathan, babengekho.
Angisakhumbulisi kahle inkosi yankantolo ngicela ingizwele seside lesikhathi.
I'm unable to recall. I'd like to ask, I beg for consideration because this is a long time ago.
Okay. So, but you vividly sure about these three crew members?
Kodwa ke laba bathathu unesiqiniseko sabo.
Nesiqiniseko.
Yes, I'm absolutely sure.
Accused number one. All right. At Eraton, what time did you arrive there?
So ngaqala ke manje eRoton nafika ngasikhatsini.
Isikhathi angizaze ngisibheke kodwa besekuhlwile.
I did not look at the time, but it was already after dark.
At approximately after 8.
Ngenza ukuthi kwakuyi mhlambe isikhathi so 80.
Njoba ngisho anginaso nje isiqiniseko.
Like I said, I do not remember clearly.
So the reason why I'm asking, the handcuffs that you have put on accused number one were still there in the position of his body where you put them.
No, uthe ngifuna ukuthi ke ozankosi babesekhona lapha emzimbeni wakhe lawo mfake khona.
Cha. Kuyoba nesikhashana la umangalelwa esesathu ukuthola ke ngasethunjini so naye ubedla.
No, there was a time when the suspect was given food, so he was eating at the time.
Yes, thank you, sir. That's why I'm asking along those lines.
Ebese ngicela ukuchaza ukuthi ke masiqeda ukudla sasingasekho isizathu sokumuthi simfake osikonyela ngasemuva eziphambili.
After eating, there was no longer any reason why you should keep him handcuffed from the back, so the handcuffs were moved to the front.
Okay. When he was eating, he was using a hand.
Kunjalo.
That's correct.
And the handcuffs were still in his hands.
Oh, zankosi babesesezandleni.
Cha, akubona ubuntu lo ubekhonyuliwe edla nje kahle sixoxa futhi.
No, the handcuffs had been removed and he was eating and we were also discussing.
You were there in one of the offices in Eraton. It's your evidence that at some stage you went out.
Many kwelinye lama-office ase-Eraton uthe wena kube nesikhathi la aphuma khona.
Sahlala ku car parking uma ngikhumbulisa kahle.
No, we stayed at the car park, if I remember.
That's the
That's
reason
correct.
why I'm saying he was inside the building, one of the offices in Eratin. You went out and stayed at the parking lot.
No, uthi unit yena wayengaphakathi ebhilidini laseLeton nanaphuma nayohlala eparking.
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
Who was escorting the suspect at that time?
Ubani-ke wayephelekezele Umsolwa ngaleso sikhathi?
Masiqeda Sergeant Mohola nathi masiqeda ukungena nabo phakathi ebuilding sesiyazi ukuthi ku safe siyaphuma ke thina simshiya nabo.
When we knew that the suspect was safely inside the building, we then left them there.
No, I'm following your evidence. He was eating. After he ate, then he moved. He got out of those offices.
Angilalela ufakazi bakho uthi wayedla and wayethi meseqeda ukudla-ke naseniyaphuma ningaphandle.
Oh, asingayi hlanganise le ndaba.
No, let's not confuse this matter.
Sidle eFoslorus police station ngaphandle.
We had our food at the First Lawrence police station outside.
Not at Eratin.
Kungekho eRatin. No.
So, is it still your evidence that in Eratin he was still handcuffed?
So-ke kusofakazi bakho ukuthi eRatin wayesafakiwe zangosi.
Ngaphambili yabo.
Yes, but they were in the front.
All right. You can estimate the period or the time in which accused number one was still inside the offices in Eratin. How many hours?
Usinike ukuthi isikhathi sokuthi Umsolwa wahlala isikhathi esingakanani eRatin ngaphakathi ema-office.
Angeke ngikwazi ukwenza lokho ngoba kwamina ngangikhathele. So angeke ngikwazi nje ukuthi ngifike ngifanisele okanye ngicabange.
I wouldn't be able to do that because at that time I was tired. So I wouldn't be able to estimate.
But from where you were parking or where you parked, from that position, you were in a better position to see the offices where accused number one was.
Manje lana nilikhona yena nikwazi uwabona la ma-office la Umsolwa waye uqala ekhona.
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
So you never lost any sight of the movement of accused number one whilst he was kept in that office.
So nanhla nimbona ngaso sonke isikhathi Umsolwa uqala.
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
Immediately thereafter, you traveled back to Pretoria.
Emva kwalokho wena seniyasuka nihamba nePitoli.
Ngicela ukuchasela inkantolo la ukuthi kube nesikhashanyana njengoba silapha eRatin ngihlele emotweni engathatha ngaso isithongwa.
I want to inform the court that while we were at Eratin, there was a time when I took a nap.
Then uConstable Sadiq uyena ke obebhekile.
Constable Sadiq was the one that kept watch.
All right, let's give you that. I won't say it's a benefit, but you took a nap. When you woke up, that was the time when you had to travel.
Wathatha isithongwane musuvuka kwayisikhathi la nifanele nisuke nihamba.
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
So who went to Pretoria? Was it yourself, Constable Sadiq, Sergeant Mohola, and who else?
Ubani waya nane Pretoria wena Constable Sadiq no Sergeant Mohola nobani futhi umuntu.
Ngizofakazela Sergeant Mohola no Constable Sadiq ngizobafakazela. Abanye bakulezinye imoto angeke ngisakhumbula kahle ukuthi kungoba.
I'm unable to remember who else was in the other cars. All I can say is that I remember Constable Sadiq and Sergeant Mohola.
All right, let's get into the nature of conveyance of accused number one from Eratin to Pretoria.
Sikhulume ngokuthwala kaMsolwa ukuqala ukusuka eEraton ukuya ePitoli.
He was transported with Sorry, was he transported with your motor vehicle or with the vehicle of Sergeant Mokhola?
Manje lapho ke siya ePitori wayehanjiswa imoto yakho noma wayehanjiswa imoto kaSergeant Mkhulu?
Yaka Sergeant Mokhola.
And was in Sergeant Mkhula's car?
Was she alone as an officer?
Why yedwa yini iphoyisa lapho?
Cha bengikhona lapha phakathi emotweni.
I was inside that car.
The accused was also inside that motor.
So na khona ngaphakathi emotweni?
Umsolwa yebo.
It is correct, the accused was there.
Mr. Sadike, Constable Sadike,
Oh, Constable Satiki,
Hamba nge-BMW.
he was traveling in the BMW.
all right. Upon your arrival at Pretoria, you went straight to Villaria. Am I correct?
Ekufeni kweni ePitori naqonda eVillaria kunjalo?
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
So according to the document that were given by my learned colleague for the state, it bears the date, it bears the time of 1:40. Can you
Manje
confirm that?
lingathi ePitori Constable Satiki ithi kwaku 140 ungakwazi
Not Sadike, Mr. Interpreter.
sorry.
The document that, the notice of right that was given to the witness by my colleague for the state, SAP 14A. Do you see it?
Manje lingathi SAP 14 there notice of rights. What did you say about it?
So do you notice the time
Uyasibona isikhathi lapho.
stipulated?
Ngisibona kahle.
I can see the time there.
Can you confirm that it was 1:40 a.m.?
Uyavuma yini ukuthi kwaku 140 lapho?
Ngavumelana naso impela bese
I agree with the time.
umtathakusa.
Thank you. That was now the 31st of May 2020.
Mhla 31 kuMay 2020.
Kunjalo.
That is correct.
It could be more than 14 hours from the time he was arrested up to the time he was detained.
Kungaba ukuthi ama hours awo 14 ukusuka ngesikhathi eboshwa ukuyofika nalesikhathi ezovalelwa ngaphakathi.
Bengabali.
No, I was not counting.
It could be because I'm not also calculating. I'm just estimating.
So hayi nami ngiyaqagela nje kodwa
Siyavumelana.
Could be
we
more
are in
than
agreement.
14 hours. So you're the one who read those rights,
Yebo ngamfundela.
Yes, I'm the one that read the rights.
and the accused signed, and he understood the rights that we.
Manje Umsolwa ke wasayina ngoba wayezwisisile lo wamchazela wona.
Mangichaze kule nkantolo ehloniphekile ukuthi ngamtshela amalungelo akhe nomseshi okanye umphenyi wecala naye wamtshela amalungelo akhe.
Let me explain to this court that I read him his right and the investigating officer also read him his rights.
So the main person who was explaining the rights was the investigating officer or yourself.
Manje ubanike kule nina ababili owayemchazela kahle ke amalungelo akho kumseshi noma kuwena.
Kwakuyimina sasedlula kaMagebe kuwe.
Yeah, I was the one that was reading his rights and was using the Zulu language.
All right. Now we are detaining the accused person. Was he medically checked if he had no injuries?
Manje uma senizovalela kumsolwa wahlolwa yini emzimbeni ukuthi akalimalanga?
Ebo kuwumthetho ukuthi konke umuntu oboshiwe abantu abasebenza emasayilini la kuvalelwa khona abantu bamhlolisise umuntu ukuthi ulimele yini okanye une zikhalazo thize na abakwazi kumthatha uma elimele.
It is a requirement for the people who are in the cells to check the suspect for injuries or for complaints,
Yeah.
because they are not supposed to accept him if he or she is injured.
All right. Let's just run away from the general practice. Specifically on the day was he examined medically.
Asiphumeke kokujwayele ukwenziwa ngikhuluma ngololu la siqonde ngokulolu leli langa esikhuluma ngalo wahlolwa yini ngalelo langa.
Abelingahlukile namanye amalanga wahlolwa.
No, it wasn't different from any other day. He was inspected.
Okay. It's early hours in the morning. You booked in accused number 1. Do you remember accused number 1 making any statement?
Manje kusekuseni ke nibhuka Umsolwa uqala ngaphakathi. Uyazi yini ukuthi khona statement asense?
Cha, angikwazi lokho.
No, I don't know about that.
My lord, may we adjourn for tea? It's quarter to 12.
Kora?
Quarter to 12 minutes.
Okay, up to 12 o'clock then.